In this market, it's almost impossible to have a vacancy for more than a week. I've never had it. Personally, maybe I have a few times, but that's only because I was doing some type of renovation between the tenant turns. And so there's just this lack of urgency here in the Springs when it comes to property management. So
I would say it's everywhere. I mean, I have properties in 4 different states, well, 3 different states that are actually rentals. And I have tried to find good quality property management for all of them, and it's hard to find.
it is.
I've got dreams, I've got dreams, I've got dreams to find a way out. I've got dreams, I've got dreams, I've got dreams to find a way out.
Welcome to episode 20 of the Real Estate Junkie podcast. Today, I'm excited to have joined with me Robert Johnson. Robert actually was a client of mine initially, and today we're going to announce something that we're pretty excited about. But to start things off, I want Rob just to introduce himself, tell us about his real estate journey so far, and then we'll dive into what we're doing together in the Springs.
Yeah. Thank you, Keith, for having me on. First, I want to say congratulations because you are one episode away from being in the top 1% of all podcasts.
Nice. I didn't even know that. Is it 21? Is that the episode?
1% of all people who start a podcast make it to episode 21. So congrats, early congrats on that.
That's pretty incredible because I have like literally another 20 episodes lined up already with the guests and everything. So you're going to continue to see this show grow.
Good. Yeah. Thank you again for having me on. I'm Rob Johnson. How did I get started in real estate? Actually, my wife and I are both in the Army currently. So,
And the Army let you have that beard?
no, I'm on baby leave right now because we just had our first kid. So if I don't have to shave, I don't shave. So we bought our first house in 2020 and it like through COVID, it just appreciated like crazy. And that kind of woke me up to how real estate is a really incredible thing. And I was like, I am making so much more money. I'm building my wealth so much faster having real estate than if I were just making money off of my W-2 job. And my wife actually came across this thing called Active Duty Passive Income, a Facebook group, a couple years ago. And I started diving into that and realizing like, holy cow, real estate is really a really great ticket to start building wealth. And from that, I found Bigger Pockets. I started diving into all the episodes and learning everything I could. And we soon after that PCS, which for the listeners is a fancy term for moving, that the Army makes you do fairly often. And we were only going to be at the next duty station for about 9 months. So we planned on renting, and we actually did. We signed a lease, we rented. And the more I learned about real estate and the more I read the books and listened to the podcast, I was like, man, why are we renting? we should be buying more real estate. And the fact that we're only here for 9 months is actually a better reason to buy more real estate because I can turn it into a rental quicker. It's not a reason to rent more. It's a reason to buy more. So we actually paid a big fee to break our lease. We bought another house. So we bought a house there, and being in the Army, we got to use the power of the VA loan. So I wanted to use the VA loan as many times as we could while we're still in the Army. And for the listeners out there that'll sharpshoot me for saying that we were only going to be there for 9 months, but I was going to use the VA loan. We actually planned on being there longer because we planned on having our kid there, which would have taken us over the 12-month mark easily. But it ended up not happening. We ended up getting orders to move before the baby came. So, but it was legal. We planned on staying there for 12 months. And then when we found out we were coming to Colorado Springs, I interviewed 15 different realtors. Keith was one of them, and he was a clear winner for an investor focused real estate agent. So he helped us find our next house here, which is a great like fixer upper.
Live-in burr.
Yeah, it's a live-in burr. Yeah, there's teal carpet in the bathrooms. So we're doing a slow live-in burr now. The top floor is completely done. We still have to think about what we're going to do with the basement, but we're slowly revamping it. So it's a slow live-in value add burr. for now. And it'll eventually become a really great rental. And then soon after that, I got a little more creative. I did a wraparound mortgage, which is a version of seller financing deal on a house in Texas. Sorry for another podcast.
I think we will do that. Let's plan on a future episode where we do a deep dive on that, because wraparound more anything creative is, a lot of people get confused. And I was literally just talking to someone today about the difference between sub 2 and a wraparound. And so, yeah, definitely, I think we should plan on having that episode.
Yeah, I'm down. That was a ton of fun. That was the most fun deal I've done, and I've never even seen the property. So yeah, that was the last house I bought. So I'm still fairly early in my real estate entrepreneurial career, but yeah, in the last 12 months we've gotten 3 houses. So we're starting to build fast. And being in the Army, like, let me preface this by saying I love what I do in the Army. I love the mission that we have. I love leading soldiers, leading paratroopers, doing the fun things like jumping out of planes and shooting guns and all that stuff. It's a ton of fun. But having our first kid was a big catalyst in me realizing that I would really love to have a little bit more time, money, and location freedom. The Army does not really allow you to do at least 2 of those things. The money, like the money is okay. They pay okay. They have good benefits. So I have financial freedom to an extent, but the time and location freedom, absolutely not. And when I was coming to Colorado Springs and joining the military group at Fort Carson, I was actually supposed to go to a unit that was going to go to Korea for 9 months, and they are still leaving to go to Korea for 9 months right before my daughter turns 1. And that was another reason I was like, man, like the Army likes to send you away for a long time. Sometimes those things are very valuable, and the U.S. needs people to go and do those things. Other times it's kind of a rotational thing. It's like moderately impactful to national defense and national security. But it was kind of a wake up call. I was like, I don't want to miss literally more than half of my kid's life before she turns 2 with a guarantee that it's going to happen again until I do my 20 years and get out of the military. Yeah. So because I had been getting into real estate and learning about finances, not even just real estate, but investing in general, personal finance, joining all the Facebook groups about the FIRE community, the Financial Independence Retire Early community, and learning about that whole world, I realized I don't have to work a normal W-2 job until I'm 65. I plan on working until I'm dead because I would get bored, but I want to do it with more time and financial and location freedom. And I think I have a little bit of a different definition than most people do with that, because most people, when they think they want time freedom, they want to work less than 40 hours a week. I don't care if I work more than 40 hours a week. I just want to be able to choose the hours of the day and the days of the week that I do it. Yes. And I also want the location freedom of not necessarily being able to work anywhere I want, when I want. That would be great. That's an eventual goal. But I at least want to be able to confidently stay in the same country as the rest of my family for most of the year. And the Army, as much as I love it, it's very difficult to do that. So I have really started aggressively taking control of my finances in buying real estate, buying rental real estate that'll appreciate in cash flow, and getting into other investments like normal brokerage accounts and whatnot. But real estate really helped me kind of pivot my thoughts about how our lives are going to go from here on out.
Well, it's definitely very powerful. It's I say it all the time. It's the biggest builder of wealth in America, and time is on your side, right? The earlier you start, the sooner you'll be financially independent, and it doesn't really take a lot to get there. There's gurus out there that are selling all different kinds of systems and formulas, but the truth of the matter is 5 homes would get you there. As little as 5 homes, as little as 3 with more time will even get you there.
Absolutely.
So you don't need hundreds of doors. But what was interesting about Robert is I saw how he had just like really sunk his teeth into real estate. He just mentioned he did that creative deal. And we were sitting at lunch one day. We went to lunch. I think we went to, where do we go? Sugar's.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, man, I really been thinking about like starting a property management company. And it's funny because I had been thinking about the same thing. I mean, I'm already managing all my properties myself. I'm practically managing my friends' properties for free. I have lots of friends and family that own real estate out here that I helped them purchase. And even though they may be managing it themselves or using a property manager, they always get into a situation where they need help. And I always have to go in and save the day. For example, I have a friend that is working with a property manager, and his house has been vacant for like 3 months now, just sitting there on the market. You can see the listing and see that there's been plenty of, you can tell on Zillow, right? There's been plenty of people contacting the property management company about the property, but no one's moved in yet. And so literally, when you have a rental property, 1 month being vacant could wipe out the cash flow for the entire year. And so he came to me. I get people like this all the time that come to me, and I can usually jump in and get someone in there. Like in this market, it's almost impossible to have a vacancy for more than a week. I've never had it. Personally, maybe I have a few times, but that's only because I was doing some type of renovation between the tenant turns. Mm-hmm. And so there's just this lack of urgency here in the Springs when it comes to property management. So
I would say it's everywhere. I mean, I have properties in 4 different states, 3 different states that are actually rentals. And I have tried to find good quality property management for all of them, and it's hard to find.
It is.
It's for this last one that I just bought in Texas, I interviewed 4 or 5 different property management companies, which is all of them in that area because it's kind of a small town in Temple, Texas. And the one that I thought I was going to go with, who seemed like the best property management company, the guy I was talking to went on vacation and he didn't have a backup to even answer the phone. I'm like, that is a red flag. Yeah. What happens when a tenant calls you and
exactly.
needs something done? Or another property manager told one of my tenants one time when the dryer vent clogged to just unplug the dryer from the dryer vent and run it anyways. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's we hear this story over and over and over again. I go into friends' homes that have been managed by a property management, and I check the HVAC, and the filter has like never been changed in like 3 years. And you're like, what? Who's managing this? Who's like maintaining this, making sure that there's certain standards are met? And so I realized that there was a big need. And I had been thinking about it, but the reason why I didn't want to do it is I'm like, oh man, they make it so complicated with all the licensing and insurance and all these different things that you have to do. In the state of Colorado, in order to be a property manager, you have to have a real estate license. And many of the brokerages that are out here, they don't even allow their agents to manage properties. So the only way to really do it is to join one of these big property management companies that are failing people, or to do it yourself. So I was already on that mind track. And then when he brought it up, and he was, Robert was saying, I was thinking maybe when I get out of the Army, that's what I'll do is I'll continue to grow my real estate portfolio, and that will manage my properties as well as other people's properties. And so we kind of we had some synergy there. And finally one day I just said, let's do it.
Yep.
And so that's what the exciting announcement is today, is that we are doing it. It is official. I think we're probably a week away, but knowing the bureaucracy and everything else that you have to go through, I would say we could probably safely say mid-September we should be fully in gear. But we probably won't take on clients until maybe October, I'm thinking, beginning of October, because we're testing our systems right now with our own properties, and then bringing on friends, and kind of we want them to be the beta testers for everyone that's out there, because when we bring on other clients, we want to make sure we're doing just a rock solid job and not missing anything. So, anything else you want to add to that?
No, I'm excited to get rolling with it. I mean, we've heard all the pain points of so many different investors in Colorado Springs, and I will be able to provide a solution that I think will outcompete everybody that I've heard of.
Yeah, not just on price, but on service
Yes.
and everything else. And we're really we're putting our all into this thing. We're jumping in. So we could probably bring on 100 houses right now and be okay.
Yeah.
What we want to make sure, though, before we bring on those 100 houses is that our systems are finely tuned, right? When maintenance requests get in, they get answered immediately, these types of things. So we're setting up the website, the portal, and all the little little things that you need to do to be successful.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. This is a fun time.
Yeah. So the name is Alpha Zulu Realty. So we are actually not just a property management company. We are going to be a full service realty, but we will only be working with investors. So if an investor comes to us and maybe it's someone new that wants to buy a rental property, we could definitely help them with that. I think at some point we'll have probably turnkey rentals even that we can offer our clients. But we could buy, we could sell, we could manage your property for you, and we can also offer a la carte services. So that's something else that we're talking about, because I know there's a lot of landlords out there that are happy doing it themselves, but they need a little help on certain pieces, and we could definitely help you with that. So stay tuned for that. It's alphazulurealty.com. The website is in progress, but I think by next week we should have it up and running.
Yeah, I think so.
And if anyone has any questions, if you're listening to this and you're in Colorado Springs and you own a rental property, maybe you're managing it yourself, or maybe you're just unhappy with your property manager, do shoot us an email. The more people that we get, inquiring about our services, we can get you set up so you're one of our first clients to join us. So you could just send us an email at info@alphazulurealty.com. And I just want to say so let's talk about the name Alpha Zulu and why we came up with that name in the first place. Do you want to say anything on that?
You start. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll start. Well, it's because we were kind of like torn. We didn't want it to sound like a military thing because, Alpha Zulu is the phonetic names for the letters A and Z. But what we were trying to do is say, look, we're going to do everything from A to Z when it comes to property management. And so that's really why we wanted A to Z. But however, we couldn't get A to Z.
The domain was $750,000.
Yeah, so we weren't going to spend $750K to buy that domain. But Alpha Zulu was.
Yeah.
And so we went with that, and it says a lot. For my non-military folks, they don't even have a clue. Like I've had some friends say, "Hey, I like Alpha. That's strong. You guys are like dominant," and I'm like, "Yep, that's right."
Perfect.
And then Zulu, you guys are like part of some African tribe. I'm like, no, but you know what? We will definitely take care of you. So I'm happy with the name, and it's easy to remember. And there's not another one out there. So we are the first one. And who knows, one day we may be managing and taking care of people outside of Colorado Springs, outside of the state of Colorado. Who knows?
Yeah. Someday, as soon as, as we get growing, I think eventually our bread and butter is going to be taking an investor, whether they're a new investor or an experienced investor, and taking them through the whole finding a great investment property, helping them purchase that property through any kind of finance, whether it's, standard conventional mortgages or creative finance, helping them through that whole process, and then bringing them into the ownership. And if it needs to be remodeled or renovated or anything, we'll help them with that. And then we'll put them under the umbrella of standard property management as well.
And that's something that I've already been doing here in the Springs for the last couple of years. Is I've been working with a lot of investors, new investors, veteran investors, in like helping them, rehab homes, fill vacancies. Although I wasn't doing that part officially, I was helping them find these properties, and so now this is just another component of that, and we can finally put it together and have control of the wheel ourselves instead of being dependent on anyone else. And so that's what I'm really excited about. I'm actually excited for my tenants, what it's going to mean for them, right? Because Rob has been working really hard on this stuff, and he put together a lot of SOPs and residential manuals and stuff like that we're going to be able to start giving the tenants. So that's going to be another important part of our mission, is really to provide quality housing to our residents. So if we're managing your property, your tenants are going to be taken care of, and so are you.
Yep. And that's we're not just taking care of the residents because it's the right thing to do. I mean, it's a good ROI. Like
It is.
a happy resident takes care of your
That's
property.
right.
They stay longer. These landlords that don't take care of tenants end up shooting themselves in the foot. Residents, owners, us, we're not just clients of each other. We're partners with each other in everybody's investment journey.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited, Rob. This was planned to be a really short podcast, more of a special announcement than anything else, just announcing that, hey, we're diving into this thing, and we want to try to help as many investors that are out there in Colorado Springs. So again, �AlphaZuluRealty.com. That's the website. It will be up in the next week or so. If you have any questions for us, if you're interested in any of our services, please do email us, info@alphazulurealty.com. You could also follow Rob if why don't you give your social media content as well? Because Rob's been pumping out a lot of great advice lately on his social media, and you definitely want to follow this guy.
Yeah, I'm new to the social media game, but it's ramping up quickly, so I'm getting better. But you can follow me on YouTube, Instagram Threads, and X now at Rob Does REI.
Awesome. Well, Rob, thank you so much for doing this with me today, and we'll definitely set up another episode maybe in the next couple weeks, where we can deep dive into some creative financing and talk through that deal you just did. That will be fun.
Sure. Yeah, I nerd out about real estate, especially creative stuff. It's fun.
Well, that's what this podcast is really about. It's just nerding out about it, and that's what we do. So everyone that's out there, thank you for joining us. God bless. Until next time, peace.